Is Marthym a Velvet Room attendant? This comment came up under my video where I speculated about Merope backstory and why her eyes aren't yellow like the other attendants. You can go watch that one first if you like, but here's a quick recap. Merope, despite being an attendant, doesn't have yellow eyes like her sibling. Some people were alarmed by this and thought it might mean she's not a real attendant, maybe even an imposter like Igor from Persona 5 Royal. That said, we mostly explore mythology and lore in this channel, so I offer an explanation through that lens. In mythology, Merope is one of the Pleiades, a group of 7 water nymphs that share their name with a star cluster. Merope, however, is considered to be the dimmest star of that 7 star, which earned her the title the Lost Pleiades, because it's hard to see her. And that's the reason why I think her eyes aren't yellow like the other attendants. I could explain more, of course, but if you're really curious about why she became the dimmest star, or why I think the Velvet Room attendants are linked to Star, you should check out that first video. Anyway, that should be enough information to start this video. So let's start with who is Marthym. Marthym is this pink-haired new character from Persona 5X. She showed up really early, and when Lufeo spotted her, he said that she seemed to be a shadow, although she's gonna act different than one. But her purpose is pretty much just someone who sells your gem and currency in the game, and she take care of places like Community Hub and the Player Palace. What's interesting about today's video and Marthym though is that usually when it's come to this kind of figure out what the story could be, I usually will check mythology, especially I will check the mythology of the name of the character. But unlike Merope, Marthym seem to not be linking to any mythology. So this is like original character. If you actually know which mythology she linked to though, you can just let me know in the comment because I would love to know that. Anyway, so why is she relevant to this theory then? Like this theory of a Velvet Room attendance? Well, here's the thing. Her eyes is actually yellow. So unlike Merope where I told you earlier, her eye is not yellow. Marthym actually have yellow eyes. However, these are not normal yellow eyes either. Someone in the comment mentioned that the yellow eyes that she have is unique because it have a ring around it. I'll have that comment up right now if you want to read it. But generally, yeah, thanks for posting this kind of comment and, you know, help me shape the theory further. I always love hearing and reading your guys' idea and theories, and it's really helped shaping the overall thing. But yeah, the ring around the yellow eyes usually signify the Velvet Room attendants. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but more accurately, only the Velvet Room attendants, I must say, have the ring around their yellow eyes. Shadow just have a plain yellow eyes. So with that in mind, when it's come to Marthym, the current speculation became like, perhaps she's a Velvet Room attendant that gets separate from Merope, kind of like Justine and Coraline, how they merged together into Lavenza. So Marthym could be a lost aspect of Merope, and then they could merge, and then Merope would have a yellow eyes. Or the other one would be that like Marthym is a real attendant and Merope is a fake attendant. However, there's a problem with this theory and my original theory of Merope as well. Well, a little bit of a problem, or the problem people bring up. But let's address that here. So first of all, there's other entity with yellow eyes with ring that is not an attendance. In this case, on top of my mind, just Jose, there might be more. Technically, this means that the ring around the eyes does not always signify Velvet Room attendant. It's either that or maybe it actually is, as in if Jose is actually a Velvet Room attendant. For me personally, I actually do have an idea of what the ring around the eyes of the yellow eyes meant. And to me, I don't link it with the Velvet Room attendants. That said though, I probably will make that video explaining it in the future. So if you enjoy learning about Persona via lore and mythology, just don't forget to subscribe for that video and more video like that in the future. Now, the second problem, and this one is bigger deal than the first, at least that's what most people said. And that is the name Merope and Marthym is not a Frankenstein name. For those who don't know, usually, or I think all of them, let's just go with all of them. I think that is a true case. All of the Velvet Room attendants, at least in the sibling list, their name are shared with the Frankenstein character. Even Igor is also have his name from Frankenstein story as well. Now, this is not super solid or like super serious because, for example, Igor is not in the original Frankenstein novel. If you don't know, he's a character that added up later in the movie. This is also the case for Theodore. He's also from the movie. Now, the part I wanted to talk about this is that, like, I'm not sure if everybody thinks so, but it seemed to be a certain group of people that believe that everybody in the Velvet Room is equivalent to Velvet Room attendants. And you can have that thought if you like, because I don't think there's anything that in the game that say that it's not. However, to me, they're not. It's quite clear to me that people in the Velvet Room doesn't seem to share the same property as the Velvet Room attendant or the sibling. So for people that don't know, the people in the Velvet Room, there's in Persona 1 and 2, there's character named Nameless, funny enough, Belladonna, sorry if I mispronounce this, I might mispronounce this one. And then there's Demon Painter. Like, these guys are the NPC in the Velvet Room, but they don't really do attendant job. Like, they don't really summon or help you with fusion or stuff like that. They're just kind of chilling there. To me, like, that's a really clear difference that, you know, there's not just one group of people in the Velvet Room. There's two. There's the attendant that help you with, like, all this summoning stuff, and then there's other NPC that I don't know what they're doing. They're just chilling there, and I guess they can add to the lore a little bit. And it's because of this reason it makes some people think that Merope possibly is like the first category. So Mary as well is the first category, right? Or you could even make it the third category because Mary technically is another guest, you know, sort of another guest, and she isn't created by Igor. There's also that property as well. But yeah, back to the theory. Sorry. So some people think that Merope could be the first category or Mary category. So she could be like Velvet Room that is not an attendant, but she's just there acting as one, or Mary, where she's just a guest. Now, if you want to have that thought, that's okay, but you have to be careful here because I saw some comment that usually I don't really interfere with people theory. Well, I do give thought, but when I say interfere, I mean like I love pretty much nearly all theory. The only problem that I have if your research is wrong, not usually not the conclusion. So for example, if you say that like if this is true and this is true, it means that the conclusion is true. That makes sense. But if you get the two things wrong, right? Like maybe you misread something, then that everything broke down. So that's the only thing that I have problem with. So I noticed in the comment that some people say that Merope could be like Mary. That said, if you have this conclusion or you have this thing, you pretty much have to forfeit the idea that every single Velvet Room attendants have to use Frankenstein name because Mary is not a Frankenstein name, right? So and then like for people who say that like Nameless, Demon Painter, Belladonna is attendant, you also have to forfeit that every Velvet Room attendants have to use Frankenstein name because that two information conflict with each other, right? Because like Belladonna and Nameless and stuff, that's not a Frankenstein name. Although for Belladonna, interestingly, some people say that she's kind of look like the bride from the Frankenstein. That's many things that you can go on. That's why I love theory, right? There's so many angles that you're coming from, but you have to if you're crafting your own theory, have to be careful that this stuff doesn't conflict with each other. But to me, in general, it's actually not too much of a problem because what people have to understand is that Persona, like other medias, they like to take some portion of the story to inspire their writing and not everything, just a portion. In this case, they might be interested in just the portion of Merope lore that she is the Lost Pallades and not worrying about the lining up the name of the Pallades with the existing attendant because they already has the Frankenstein lore, right? So they just, okay, I just want to use the Lost Pallade parts, but they don't care about other part. Or maybe they might just use the part about her being the Lost Pallades and using that as an inspiration to write a beat or a part of the story. Like maybe she is a lost palate, so she lost part of her power. That's why her eyes is not yellow. Or maybe she actually hide her true name and maybe it's a Frankenstein name. There's so many angles you could go through, right? But the point of drawing inspiration from mythology is to inspire it, not to create rules and limit creativities. Like, did you know that Aiki's official name is Aegis in Japanese? This is a shield that is held by Athena, right? And this shield is what's said to have a power to summon thunder, because originally it's owned by Zeus. And Athena is Zeus' daughter, Sota. That said, though, in the game, Aegis is weak to thunder. Like, what the heck, right? Like, they just draw a certain part. They're not going to use every single thing, because that just lock yourself, then it'll just make the writer go crazy. So I really wanted to give a small real talk here for those who love theories and exploring media, and also to myself in the future, if I were to forget or get pressure by others into not producing or talking about theories that I'm interested in. What I wanted to say is just have fun. There will always be people who are result orientated. They will try to tear you down, especially when the story get to that part that you theorize and it is not what you said. However, you don't have to worry about that, because most people who enjoy theories, they usually not result orientated. They enjoy the narrative and how you are piecing everything together and the perspective you bring to the table. So even if you ended up being wrong, the enjoyment people get from listening to you is real. Think of it this way. Let's say if you did your research and you present it beautifully and people love it, but then the dev reviewed the answer and it's ended up being something totally different. Does that mean that everything you did is worthless? Well, for some, but for me, not really, because when I read many of you guys' theory in the comments and when I did the research and put everything together, I still have tons of fun. And it's piqued my interest. And that to me is real. Now, what if there's a person who did no research, but they just make a random guess and it's happened to be right? Well, unfortunately in our world, people are still probably gonna cheer for them. But personally, I don't think we should worry too much about the answer. Because what makes theories amazing and fun is not the answer. It's the work that one put into looking for one. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you think Marthym is a Velvet Room attendance.